Right, there we go. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were taking a look at the Unimil SK Warmers game. Morgan, I know I said there I'd give you a chance to jump in. Unimil SK, we were just talking about during the break now. SK looked like they were just playing and enjoying the rugby.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exactly it, right? You pick up results when you create an environment that guys want to be part of. SK, new coaches, new environment at the track, always going to be difficult to go and beat. And Unimil, sort of in a bit of a contrasting, lost their coach, but don't have the same coach this year.
Yeah.
A bit of a couple of changes. And it's just two different times in their sort of lifespan of coaches and teams. That collided on Saturday.
Alistair, does it kind of, if you're playing against a team that looks like they're just having fun for 80 minutes, isn't that kind of hard to break the spirit of that team? Isn't it a bit self-destroying when you're watching a team who's just having fun? Like, you just can't get under their skin. They're just enjoying every minute.
Yeah, it's tough, and especially if nothing is going right for your group.
Yeah. Then my question, yeah.
Yeah, then it's tough to get out of a rut like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they just have to look.
So the lesson in that, Morgan, you've been playing for years. The lesson in that is get your players to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Jeff. And especially when your back's against the wall. I mean, I find sometimes when our back's against the wall, it's not trying to keep pushing the envelope. It's like, let's play games at practice. Let's do fun things at practice. Oaks start laughing. Oaks start having a bit of fun.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden,
100%.
I see that, that enjoyment factor back. It's not that big. One loss, it's not going to end your season. It's not
Because it's also, there's a question of, it's always a lot easier to do 10 minutes more running, 10 more push-ups, 10 more sprints and whatever, if you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
When you're not enjoying it, then all of a sudden that little bit of extra cold, that extra push-up, that extra sprint, it's not so much fun anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And Ali will be able to tell you more than I will because he's been around as a coach for longer than I. But often when it rains and so forth, I start with games.
Yeah.
You start with games in the rain. The O goes, it's raining. Yes. But now they're throwing the ball around, playing a bit of netball, playing whatever it is, and all of a sudden the smiles on the faces. Then to ask them to do 120s, to ask them to do maybe a 10-minute small contact block is a lot easier.
Yep, 100%.
All right, folks. Well, if you want to know what the weather predictions are like in Kraaifontein on any time of the weekend, you just see if Morgan Newman starts playing games. Let's take a look. This is, of course, Helderburg St. George's, first off. Right, there we go. Halftime score for Helderburg leading, 19 points to 8. Folks, for those of you that have just joined Cape Rugby watching the first time, I can assure you, you are watching a derby match. Helderburg, St. George's. It is all to play for in the Helderburg Basin when those two teams come together. Morgs, massive derby factors here. Helderburg's got the upper hand at halftime.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ali and I was talking about it. It looked like a sort of, I don't know, I feel like St. George's weren't in the collision, you know, just from a physical contact point of view, derby match, you want to be in their face, you want to be making tackles, you want to be stopping that momentum, because we know that big pack of Helderburg, as soon as that wheel starts to turn, it's very hard to stop.
All right, Alistair, halftime coaches talk. Helderburg's ahead, St. George's behind. Both teams have to, one has to keep the lead, the other one has to play a bit of catch up. Home ground advantage for Helderburg. What are the coaches saying?
Look, Helderburg just keep on doing what we've done after.
Yeah.
Stay direct. With St. George's, I mean, they need to buckle up, and you know they weren't in the physical contest defensively. They could attack, but defensively they weren't in the physical.
All right, well, let's take a look and see if St. George's is going to bounce back. This is, of course, Helderburg leading half-time against St. George's. All right, Morgan Newman will give you a chance to comment on that after the break. But folks, we'll be back in a sec. Don't go away.